Unless you live under Patrick's Rock, you'd be in the know about the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, if you didn't know, Ukraine uses Starlink for its drone assaults. So in basic terms, Elon Musk is helping Ukraine. The ability of Ukrainians to access the web is largely thanks to Elon Musk's satellites. Without them, they'd be shut off. The Ukrainian military uses the popular consumer app Starlink to guide drone attacks against Russian tanks and positions. Shortly after Russia's invasion of Ukraine began in late February, Ukrainian Vice Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov phoned US entrepreneur Elon Musk to ask that his Starlink satellites be activated for use in Ukraine. Musk tweeted rapidly, "Beginning today, Ukrainians may utilize the Starlink system. The plan is to add more of these kiosks to the system in the future." Did you know that Elon Musk attempted to launch Starlink in Iran, but unfortunately it hasn't been a success yet? But eventually, thousands of Starlink satellites could offer always-on broadband internet access to billions of people around the world. We then sent the powerful batteries and connections to Ukraine. Over time, a large number of individuals started to join them. Fedorov once again thanked his devoted followers with the tweet. The Ukrainian army's use of Starlink for drone attacks on Russian tanks and positions has been quite beneficial. The military has found Starlink to be particularly effective in areas with weak or non-existent internet connectivity. Owing to Erez-Vidka's use of Starlink, anti-tank weapon firing has become more precise. Erez-Vidka is a unit that monitors and coordinates the activities of unmanned aerial vehicles. The system's high data rates are the only way to ensure a consistent connection. The Erez-Vidka unit uses Starlink technology to link the drone crew with this artillery unit. Using a drone equipped with thermal vision and Starlink to coordinate with an artillery operator is essential for targeting during nighttime operations. Erez-Vidka reportedly completes 300 infiltration missions daily thanks to the Starlink connection. Assaults occur at night since it is more difficult to see the drones, some of which are equipped with infrared cameras. The possibilities of this method are limitless. Starlink might be a godsend for those who live in remote places yet can't get high-speed internet elsewhere. Actually, if you ever want to experience Starlink live in action, you got to take a Royal Caribbean cruise. Why? Because in August, Starlink landed a contract with Royal Caribbean to provide high-speed internet access to its fleet of cruise ships, so passengers and crew can go online easily and have access at all times. It was suggested that satellites be used to bring internet into places that aren't available. Even fewer people thought it would be used for the first time in a war zone in Europe, where the invaders' main goal was to shut down the continent's power grid and communication networks. The Ukrainian people now have improved or restored access to global communication. More than 100,000 Ukrainians are using the Starlink messaging app to get in touch with loved ones and be updated on the impending crisis. I know some may hate Musk and some may love him, but let's admit, he's a real one for that. Starlink satellites enable Ukrainian President Zelensky to speak with his country's residents and parliamentarians anywhere in the world. Starlink's importance goes beyond its military use because of Ukraine's potential to garner worldwide support and keep the people's battle strong. And it's working. This connection will become more important as Russia ramps up its attacks on Ukraine's power and internet infrastructure in the next few weeks and months. Russian troops will likely target Starlink's reception dishes since they aren't very stealthy. They won't stop this key advantage at any cost. The biggest danger comes from the possibility of geolocated receiving equipment. Musk tweeted in early March when the first terminals had arrived, "Turn on Starlink only when necessary and site antennas as far away from people as possible." It has been alleged that in addition to executing targeted attacks, Russia is seeking to impair internet's networks in space. However, SpaceX asserts that it has found a solution. According to a tweet by Musk, the most recent software update lessens the device's need for power and may make it immune to transmitter jamming. Musk's support for Ukraine has been seen as hostile by the Kremlin. Dmitry Rogozin, head of the Russian Space Agency, has called Starlink's activities interference. On Russian state television RT, Elon Musk said that military use of Starlink was never planned. Musk's response was typically brief and concise, tweeting, "The internet service for the general public in Ukraine was experiencing extraordinary difficulties, thus SpaceX is aiding in its repair, both on the battlefield and in repairing infrastructure that Russia has been trying to destroy." Starlink's presence in Ukraine has been important. We don't know how much of a contribution the wealthy owner could make to the war effort. Deputy Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov turned to Twitter in late February to beg US entrepreneur Elon Musk to launch Starlink, SpaceX's massive and rapidly expanding broadband network, and Russia's invasion badly disrupted internet service in Ukraine. Musk quickly replied, "Starlink has launched in the Ukraine. More terminals are on the way." Many Westerners believed Russian forces would quickly conquer Ukraine after learning that Russian President Vladimir Putin had begun an attack. On the other side, the Ukrainian military and citizens have created an efficient resistance against the Russian troops. This customized DJI Matrice 300 drone is an example of an unmanned aerial vehicle used as a temporary solution. Anti-tank bombs dropped by Ukrainian artillery fitted with a Starlink satellite may be dropped on Russian positions in complete silence and secrecy. Starlink was conceived as a means to provide the internet via satellite to areas with little or no connectivity. such as ships at sea, remote rural areas, and countries with restrictive internet censorship laws. The infiltration of Russian forces into Ukraine has made Starlink an absolute necessity for the protection of the nation. There has been a lot of talk on social media and in the press about SpaceX's dedication to Ukraine and the company's desire to continue paying for the service despite SpaceX footing the bill. More and more Ukrainian villages, towns, and cities have been left without electricity after Russian missile strikes, drone assaults, and shelling of energy infrastructure, making Starlink terminals essential to the country's capacity to interface with the rest of the world. There are a variety of vulnerabilities in the system, including the fact that it might be used to track down and target specific people. Elon Musk tweeted in early March, not long after the first terminals were delivered, "Turn on Starlink only when required and place the antenna as far away from people as practicable." The Russian military wants to use jammers on satellites to slow down internet speeds. To combat this, SpaceX has announced introducing a revised version of its Starlink software that might render transmitter jamming unnecessary while reducing power consumption. An advisor to the Ukrainian President Mikhailo Podolyak has said that Ukraine couldn't find a way to maintain the availability of the Starlink internet service. On the 14th of October, Podolyak tweeted, "Like it or not, Musk helped us survive the most vital moments of combat." Musk openly repudiated his appeal for financial aid on October 15, declaring, "The heck with it, we'll just keep feeding the Ukrainian government for free," even though Starlink was still losing money. Again, using Twitter on the 17th, Musk said, "Okay, we will add a donation option to Starlink," Musk said. "We'll keep doing it, despite the company losing $20 million per month owing to unpaid service and expenditures related to security measures for cyber warfare, defense." However, media sources implied that the United States military and the European Union are also contemplating contribution to help Kyiv finance Starlink. Due to financial constraints, Ukraine's connections were interrupted after 1,300 satellite modules made by SpaceX were turned off. According to two informed parties, 1,300 satellite units failed this past week, raising concerns that Ukrainian soldiers would lose access to Elon Musk's critical Starlink internet service. Despite the destruction of cellular, phone, and internet networks caused by the war with Russia, compact, user-friendly satellite dishes produced by Musk's private rocket business SpaceX have been widely hailed as a game-changing mode of communication for the Ukrainian armed forces. And Starlink delivers with tons of speed. The Starlink satellites are different from the norm in that they are built to transmit data using lasers. Given that lasers can move at the speed of light, this paves the way for a communication process that is exceptionally rapid and is designed to outperform more traditional forms of communication. This approach is comparable to fiber optic internet in that both are very rapid means of communicating with others. But light pulses, not lasers, power fiber optic networks. Using this technology, Starlink's individual satellites will collaborate with a total of 4 more satellites in the area to form a robust and consistent network. However, SpaceX's reliability has been under scrutiny due to reports of problems in critical areas and the exposure of sensitive financial discussions. After spending over $100 million on Starlink in Ukraine, SpaceX reportedly wrote to the Pentagon in September to warn them that the business could no longer finance the project. CNN initially reported the news. It was suggested in the letter that the Department of Defense should shoulder a larger share of the monthly tens of millions of dollars needed to support the Ukrainian armed forces. After the CNN article was published, Musk seemed to backtrack, suggesting that SpaceX had cancelled the request. As Musk put it on Twitter, "The heck with it, we'll simply keep paying the Ukrainian state for free." Contrary to Musk's claim, a senior military official has confirmed that talks between SpaceX and the Defense Department are still ongoing. "The talks are going well so far. No one here doubts that we would pay them, but we expect him to change his mind, so we need written assurances just in case." Neither Musk nor SpaceX made a public statement. Both the Ukrainian administration and the Ministry of Defense were silent at the time. The current interruption began on October 24 and is a major concern for Ukraine's armed forces. An unnamed source said that a lack of funds led to the closure of the terminals. Ukrainian military operations depended on 1,300 terminals acquired from a British business in March. But these devices are now useless due to the power failure. SpaceX was charging the Ukrainian military $2,500 per month to maintain all 1,300 units. The final tally by September was close to $20 million. In the end, the individual explained they simply couldn't afford to keep up with these payments. Starlink is not a cheap service, and it's safe to assume that investing in Starlink won't be cheap. The average cost of a month of Starlink in California, including equipment and shipment, is $599. But the fundamental issue is whether or not the cost will be justified. You'll need to shell out $110 a month for a Starlink membership. Spending $1,200 a year on an internet connection is rather pricey. Furthermore, the gear and delivery fees are not included in these steep subscription charges. Will Elon Musk find another discount so that Ukraine can keep using the fastest internet connection to defend itself? Tell us in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to get more like it.